You know what? Yesterday, when I left the session, a lot of students came to me and they asked this. I mean, they had this question. Their scores are not improving at all, and they expected certain trajectory to take place. When they would prepare, but things are not going their way. And some of them had this question. Why me? I never expected this to happen to me. And honestly, I realized that this is what life throws at us. And most of us go through this conundrum, this riddle. Why me? मेरे साथ क्यों? Out of all, I never expected this to happen to me. So I would like to share a very powerful story of this gentleman called Viktor Frankle. I read this epic novel 10 years back, and the name of the novel is Man's Search for Meaning. Because he wrote this book after he came alive out of the most dreaded, the most scary, the most dangerous, and the most talked about place called Auschwitz, concentration camp. Adolf Hitler, 1935 to 45, he put almost 17 to 20 million people in concentration camps. And these concentration camps were in myriad numbers. Very prominent ones were Auschwitz, Sobibor, Palazzo. They were in Poland. But then these camps were everywhere. This gentleman he was born in Austria. And he was kept in this concentration camp called Auschwitz. And it was a labor camp. And I can tell you, when I read this book, I had goosebumps. This book should be read by every young student, professional, or anyone who is searching for meaning in life. Because the book is about what happens when you are actually thrown in that space from where it is impossible to think that you will come alive. Every day was torture, he was beaten till death, he would starve for days, and he turned into a skeleton. And every experience that he writes in the book tells us the misery that he went through. And imagine out of 20 million people, number of survivors out of those concentration camps that Hitler actually started, the number was almost 2 to 3 lakh. He was one of those survivors. And he survived big time. He died in 1997 at the age of 92. 92 की age में he died. And after he survived, he wrote all his experiences in that book. And after that, his book taught a lot of people few exemplary lessons of life, which I believe every individual possibly should try and learn. 3 major lessons of that book. The first lesson was, instead of chasing happiness, what we should chase is the purpose of life. Why am I here on this planet? What's the reason? What is the raison d'etre? And he said, this question I never asked. And I had lost hope in that concentration camp. Here is a man who had a very successful married life. He had his wife, an unborn child, a psychiatrist by profession, and suddenly, you are into a nightmare and you have no hope left. You are alone. And then he said, I saw a few people who were surviving that ordeal. And he said, I saw a pattern. And the pattern was, these were not the strongest and well-built people. These were people who had will to survive, and they knew the purpose for which they would have to survive. It was their attitude. And young people like you, I must tell you, it's your attitude, it's your willingness to excel, it's the purpose for which you are here. It's the purpose for which you're here on this planet. And I can tell you, you just get this human life once. That's what I believe. हमें नहीं पता rebirth के बारे में. लेकिन you have to make it count. And if you have to make it count, you have to really make sure that you withstand these challenges and these ordeals. And you start pushing yourself. Instead of asking, why me? ask as to what is the purpose. मैं क्यों हूं इस दुनिया पे? एंड मेरा पर्पस अगर बहुत लार्जर देन लाइफ है तो उसके लिए मुझे स्ट्रगल करके एक्सेल करना है और प्रॉस्पेरिटी की तरफ जाना है. मतलब एक्सेलेंस is the only virtue that I know. That is the first thing he taught. Viktor Frankle. And Viktor Frankle said that I believed in a therapy called logotherapy. Suddenly I realized that logotherapy is my reason for existence. Logos is meaning. So the therapy was driven by meaning or the symbol or the purpose. And that is what I believe young people like you should think, that there has to be a logos. There has to be a purpose, there has to be a study, there has to be a reason. That's what he talked about. The second learning from the book was, look, we can't control uncontrollable. As in, the challenges which are thrown to us, we don't know how and when these challenges would come. But we know one thing, that the response is in our control. Response मेरे हाथ में. मेरे हाथ में ये नहीं है कि वो चैलेंज कब आएगा, कैसा होगा, लेकिन मुझे रिस्पॉन्स चूज करने का राइट है. मतलब मुझे लड़ने के लिए वो शक्ति बहुत जरूरी है कि मैं ये कर पाऊं डिसाइड कि मैं इस चैलेंज को कैसे फेस करूंगा. आपने नोट किया होगा जिंदगी में बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं जो अलग अलग तरीके से रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं प्रॉब्लम को. कई लोग एंगर के थ्रू करते हैं, कई लोग फेलियर को अपनी डेस्टिनी मानते हैं, कई लोग दूसरों को ब्लेम करते हैं, कई लोग सिचुएशन और सर्कमस्टांसेस को ब्लेम करते हैं, कई लोग चैलेंजेस लेने की सिचुएशन में ही नहीं होते हैं. कई लोगों को लगता है कि शायद उनका ये जो बर्थ है वो किसी अलग रीजन से इस तरह से इवॉल्व हो रहा है, एज इन दे हैव 1000 थिंग्स टू ब्लेम. दूसरी तरफ ऐसे वो लोग हैं जिन्होंने रिस्पॉन्स अलग तरह से दिया है. उन्हें लगता है कि ठीक है, दिस इज द सिचुएशन, ओके, आई एम बॉर्न विद दीज चैलेंजेस और आई एम राइट नाउ लिविंग विद दीज चैलेंजेस. अब मुझे एक एक को रिस्पॉन्ड करना है. तो रिस्पॉन्स में आता है पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड, राइट अप्रोच. एग्जाम के लिए 6 months आर लेफ्ट, आई एम गेटिंग लेट्स से वेरी लेस स्कोर्स. मुझे धीरे धीरे अपने स्कोर्स को बढ़ाना है. मेरा स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, मुझे उसको लेके आगे चलना है. लाइफ में भी लेट्स से मेरा फाइनेंशियल लॉस हो चुका है बहुत, अब मुझे लाइफ के नेक्स्ट 30-40 ईयर्स के लिए लड़ना है, ना कि मुझे नेक्स्ट ईयर या नेक्स्ट मंथ के लिए लड़ना है. उसके लिए मुझे पहले अपने सर्वाइवल के लिए अपनी स्ट्रेंथ पे जाना है कि ओके, दिस इज समथिंग दैट हैज गिवन मी लॉट ऑफ रीजन टू अर्न. मुझे धीरे से, बड़ा एम्पायर अगर छोटा हो गया है तो मैं अचानक बड़ा एम्पायर क्रिएट नहीं कर सकता, बट मैं एक ऐसा एम्पायर क्रिएट करने की तरफ जा सकता हूं जो कुछ सालों में मुझे बराबर नहीं तो उस लेवल पे लेके जाएगा. एंड देन टाइम विल स्टॉप फॉर यू, आई कैन टेल यू, बिकॉज वो जो टाइम एक्सपैंड होगा आपके लिए, क्योंकि आप पर्पस ढूंढ रहे हो, बिकॉज आप वैल्यू ढूंढ रहे हो लाइफ में. ये उनका सेकेंड लेसन था. उस किताब में उन्होंने लिखा है बात कि जैसे ही मुझे ये लगा दैट देयर इज अ पर्पस, देयर इज अ लोगोस, I started changing everything in my life. And the third thing that he talked about was related to universe. And he said, in the entire universe, when we look at ourselves, we start looking at two things. One would be the forward approach, the other is the backward approach. The forward approach would possibly tell us that life is all about living every moment and trying to get the best out of it. Okay, the backward movement is to possibly soak yourself in the misery or in the agony of what has happened with you in the past. ये आपके ऊपर है. ये स्पोर्ट्स की मेंटालिटी भी होती है. अगर आप पास्ट की मिजरी से अगर में रहते हो तो आप किसी भी स्पोर्ट को अच्छा नहीं खेल सकते, बिकॉज आप बार बार ट्रिप करते रहोगे कि ये मैंने क्यों किया, ये मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ. एंड दैट doesn't really allow you to move. Viktor Frankle clearly says that I knew that all I had to do was to somehow survive till I can actually come out of this misery and then withstand the challenge and then resurrect myself and create a new world. This book teaches you everything and anything that possibly humanity is made up of. We humans are humans because we have that uncanny talent and knack to possibly resurrect ourselves, like Phoenix, and perform like magic. And that is where you people should really make it count in life. Don't give up so easily. Viktor Frankle, Man's Search for Meaning, and I can tell you, I have read that book not just once, at least 5 to 6 times in the last 10 years. Every time when I read this book, I have a different approach towards life. And this gentleman actually should be complimented for changing humanity, for helping us all, for making life beautiful. That's the way I look at it. So now don't ask me, why me? Why my scores are not improving? Why these challenges are only happening with me? No, no, no. You are blessed soul that the challenges have come to you. Now it's up to you to really make the best out of those challenges and create more value. इतने बड़े बड़े एम्पायर्स ऐसे ही क्रिएट नहीं हुए हैं. सबकी जिंदगी में रोलर कोस्टर राइड होती है. बड़े बड़े बिजनेस टाइकून, पॉलिटिशियंस, साइंटिस्ट, प्रोफेशनल्स, रिलीजियस गुरुज, गॉड, सब पास्ट से लेके अभी तक आप देखेंगे तो आपको एक्सेप्शन नहीं हो. सिर्फ टाइम की बात है. दिस टू शैल पास. दैट्स द वे आई लुक एट इट.